John Wick Chapter 4 is so far in 2023 my favorite movie of the year, and honestly, I don't think I've seen a better action movie since the last John Wick in the last few years. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another non spoiler movie review, and today we're talking John Wick Chapter 4. I can't believe it's been 4 movies. I actually do remember. I think it was before the second one came out. I remember the first one was kind of like in the zeitgeist. It almost felt like the John Wick franchise came out of nowhere. This isn't a pre-established universe. This isn't, Keanu Reeves, especially at the time, wasn't really in his what we call now a Keanu sans. But I remember there was a time where Keanu was like at the top of the world, and all of a sudden, no one talked about him, and then John Wick came out, and it brought him back. And I'm glad because Keanu Reeves seems like a genuine guy. He's a fun actor. I love him as an actor, but I especially love him as John Wick. Now, to give you some background to this review, the first John Wick movie is straight up my favorite action in any action movie of all time. I just love rewatching the first John Wick movie, especially that scene when he's going into the hotels and he's just killing everyone in here with like all the lights. And I love the first John Wick movie. I also love Chapter 2. I also love Chapter 3, I forgot what it's pronounced, but I don't know. But now, what do I think about Chapter 4? Now, I will say this to all the people who are wondering if they should go watch it or not. Your reason to watching it is going to depend on, and I know this is something I say way too often. I said this in my Shazam review. I said this in my Ant-Man review. I say this in a lot of my reviews, but it's all going to depend on, do you already like the movies? So let's say you've seen the trilogy, which I don't know why you wouldn't watch the trilogy. So if you haven't, you got to go watch it. Not saying that you have to definitely watch it for this. I mean, it'll definitely improve. I think you can watch Chapter 4 without having seen the other movies. I just see, like, why would you not? Why would you throw away the joy of watching the trilogy? And I'm getting too much into it. But however, this movie is going to depend on whether or not you like the last 3 movies. I think especially the third film. I feel like this movie resembles that third film far more than the first film, because let's not deny it, this whole story of John Wick started off with this dog dying, and it's funny because it's now brought him into this point where he's, of course, excommunicado. and and I like that. What I like about the last few John Wick movies, while I don't love them as much as the first one, is it really goes into the lore of the Continental and the lore of the John Wick universe. How many assassins are there? Why is everyone all of a sudden an assassin? Like, it's crazy. And then having this specific area where assassins can just vibe and they don't have to worry about being assassinated, I just think is pretty cool. Ultimately, I do like that this movie has a lot of world building. So again, it goes back to, did you like the last few movies? Because if you didn't like the John Wick movies, this movie does not change your mind. However, if you do like the John Wick movies, smart minded people like us, you're gonna enjoy it, because this movie's action is brilliant. Again, this is, again, like I said earlier, my favorite action movie of the year. Then again, I haven't really watched many action movies, but I have seen a lot of movies, and so far it's my favorite. I've seen Cocaine Bear, I saw Creed 3, I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, Scream 6. I still need to watch Dungeons and Dragons, although I don't think I'll be watching that, since I think I'll just wait for that one on streaming, especially because it came on the weekend of John Wick Chapter 4, which, by the way, John Wick is going to smoke Dungeons and Dragons. But no, the action's pretty cool. It's badass. It's the most important thing about a John Wick film. And the action was great. And the movie, again, like I said, explores more of the lore of John Wick. But now let me talk about the actress. Keanu Reeves is John Wick, always as amazing as usual. But the standout of this film, and while I love Bill Skarsgård, I got to give it to Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen is the scene stealer of this film, and I love that, because it's crazy, because I look back at the first 3 John Wick films, And while, yes, you had all the other actors doing their job well, I love Ian McShane as Winston. There's never been a John Wick movie where my focus wasn't on John Wick. But in John Wick Chapter 4, for a large part of the film, I just wanted to see Donnie Yen's character. I just thought he was cool, okay? Bill Skarsgård was also great, but everyone was great in this film. Everyone did their job right. It's just that Donnie Yen was above it. And again, the action's unique. I like it. The stakes are raised a lot. But this does go to my only criticism of the film. And that is, yes, John Wick started off as an absurd idea. He's an assassin who already murdered hundreds of people on his own, right? He did it for a dog. And I know that sounds bad, but I actually love that, by the way. But, it's like, the thing I love John Wick Chapter 4. I love this movie, right? I'll say this movie is better than Chapter 2, and I would say it's on the same level as Chapter 3. But one thing about 2, 3, and 4 that I'll always say is it's never gone back to my love of that first John Wick. Because what I love about that first John Wick is it's simple, it's straight cut simple. Right? It doesn't matter if you know the lore, and I like the lore stuff. It's just that first movie, what I like is it was like, hey, we have this assassin, here's his backstory real quick, let's get into the fun action. And then they added the Continental as this kind of nice, fun idea, kind of like spitballing. But Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4 have gone so far, of course it's him running for what he did at the end of Chapter 2, right? And him having broken the rule. Right? And then the third film ended with John Wick falling off a roof after Winston shot him, kind of making it seem like John died. And one thing I miss about the core first film that I haven't really felt the last few films. I mean, by the way, these are still brutal, epic action films. The action's great in all of them. John Wick is still a scary, ruthless murderer. But one thing I feel is missing from the John Wick franchise since the first one is the Baba Yaga part. The Baba Yaga part was always this fun part of this first film, where, one of the best scenes was when the guys like, somebody hurt my son. Who? John Wick, sir. And the guy with his phone right there is like, oh. And in that second, John Wick is one badass mofo, and you didn't have to see all the action. The action was, of course, the priority, but like at that moment, you just heard that oh, and you're like, oh god, is this guy really that scary? And then you watch the film, and yeah, he brought fear to everyone. But one thing I've not liked about the other chapters is you see less and less of that fear. Whether you're talking about Halle Berry. When she saw John Wick, she didn't really seem fearful. Even in this film, Donnie Yen didn't seem that fearful of the Baba Yaga. And yes, John is still one brutal mofo. He's still one amazing. He's gonna kick ass. He's gonna kill you. Regardless, it just doesn't feel the same way as the first film. The whole Baba Yaga narrative. But still, I still like this movie. I still love this movie for what it is. I appreciate the story they were able to put out in the forefront. It's just I do think that the John Wick movies are getting a little dumber, or not dumber, but have dumber moments, if that makes sense, which I still enjoy because the John Wick movies aren't this Godfather-esque kind of Goodfellas, epic, Lord of the Rings story. It's more of a, hey, we got some badass, cool action, and we'll go from there. But I do like the ending of this film. I won't say what it is, obviously, but I like the ending a lot. I like everything in this film. I do wonder how much more they'll do of John Wick, but if they do more, I'll be completely satisfied because I do love the John Wick movies. While I don't think any of them have ever gone to the levels of the first one, I still enjoy them. And Chapter 4 was another installment of John Wick, and I'll say this right now. I think John Wick might be heading towards being my favorite action franchise of all time. I'm thinking of every other action film, whether you're talking about Equilibrium, Terminator films, whatever, The Matrix even, and I'm thinking of all these other action films, and I'm thinking, which what would I say is better, at least franchise wise, is better than John Wick? And maybe this is my recency bias, but I don't see any other movie being better than John, or at least any other action franchise being better than John Wick, especially nowadays. I don't think a single franchise right now at this very moment in this current Hollywood film era, I don't think a single action franchise is as good as John Wick. But that's because John Wick is just that good, right? But it's crazy how they're able to create this film. It's honestly amazing. But anyways, that is it for my review. I overall enjoyed it. I recommend this to hardcore action fans, John Wick fans. If you love seeing gun fu, you're going to love this film, of course. Who do I not recommend it to? If you're not into violence, if you're not into action, and if you're not into the Wick movies already, you're probably not going to like it. If you're a dog lover, you're also going to love this. But I feel like that's always been established, But there's, I also, of course, like every John Wick movie, there's always dog references, and I like what they did here. But that's it for my review. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. You guys let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think about my review? Have you seen the movie? Have you not? Whatever it is, let us know in the comment section down below. And even actually, let's say you watch the movie after watching this review. Let us know in the comments what did you think about the film. Anyways, I'll see y'all in the next one. Ciao.
Where do you go?